This segment brought to you by Bravo Company USA.
Hey gang, Larry Vickers here. Welcome to Larry at the Movies, one of our most popular segments we have on our channel. Today is No Country for Old Men, one of my personal favorites. Now, doing some research on this movie online, I found out that I had the same reaction that a lot of people did. When I heard about the movie and it got Best Picture that year and I watched it the first time, I was like, what's so special about this movie? I didn't really get it. As I've watched it more and more, I like it more and more every time I watch it. It's an outstanding movie, has one of the absolute best bad guys in movie history, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Really good movie. Now, it takes place in 1980. There's a scene in there where the main bad guy, Anton Chigurh, is at a gas station and he says this quarter he's going to flip to determine whether or not he kills the guy at the gas station. You know, it was a 1958 quarter and it's been traveling 22 years to get here, so you do the math, it's 1980. That's going to play into a lot of things. In 1980, I was 17 years old, classic boomer. All right, so I'm going to be able to relay to you some of the things in the flavor of 1980 that don't necessarily translate to the movie. All right, we're going to pick it up here. Llewellyn Moss, Josh Brolin's character, is at the beginning of the movie here, and he's out hunting, and he's going to, engage an antelope or whatnot. We're going to talk about his rifle and then take it from there. All right, so here we go. Okay, he just engaged the wildlife. Now notice, he has a laminated stock on his hunting rifle there. Well, problem is laminated stocks were not introduced. I thought something looked a little bit weird about this. Sure enough, the research I did, laminated stocks were not introduced on mass-produced hunting rifles till well into the 1980s. All right, so this, could you say it was a custom rifle and he had a custom laminated stock on it in 1980? Maybe. That's a bit of a stretch, but what you're going to see is most of the guns in the movie are not period correct. Doesn't really impact the movie per se, still a fantastic movie, but most of the stuff is not period correct. Also, when he engaged, the wildlife there had no felt recoil. All right, with this caliber, this gun, he's obviously shooting something like a 243 or a 7mm 08 or something in that flavor. It's going to have some recoil. All right, so here we go. All right, moving on. Picks up his empty cartridge case, puts it in his pocket, assumption being he's a reloader. All right, looks like it might be 243 to me, just a guess. All right, now he's going to start walking down here looking for the blood trail. Pretty desolate portion of Texas there. He runs into a blood trail coming up here, going the other way. And it is from a pit bull. Now, pretty serious blood trail. Something that's bleeding out this much in that short period or short little section that he sees probably is not going to get very far before it collapses from blood loss. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. You see the amount of blood right there. That's a lot of blood for a blood trail. That the dog or a human is going to bleed out fairly quick and not too far down the road. Another thing we're going to hit on here, all the terrain basically looks the same. Very easy to get misoriented or lost in the desert. That's going to come up here in a little bit when we see him. A little bit down the road here, I'm going to point out he does something that really would be a bad idea out in the middle of the desert. All right, now he comes up on, and he's overlooking the scene where the vehicle's down in the gully, where things went sideways. All right. And he's going to head down here. You notice, by the way, Vietnam vet. You don't know that at this point in the movie, but as time goes on, you find out he's a Vietnam vet, kind of holding a gun, patrol ready. Pretty realistic in that regard. It's the only weapon he has, so he's going to have it in a position where he can use it. One of the things I want to point out to you here coming up is got some shell casings on the ground that really don't necessarily fit the caliber of the weapons here. I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that. But the one thing I'm not going to give them a pass on, it's coming up right here, underfolder AK laying by this dead guy, and it's on safe. You can see it right there. Okay, that's kind of a no-go. Probably a rubber prop gun, but nevertheless, and it was probably molded with the weapon on safe, but that's not going to fly. Obviously, the guy didn't put it on safe in his last dying breath. All right, comes up, checks out the vehicle. One thing that struck me as odd on this particular Ford pickup here, he opens the door fairly quietly, fairly, uneventful, but now the keys are swinging in the ignition, which to me doesn't really fit on how slow he opened the door. Kind of a minor point, but that's something to me that was kind of overlooked. I don't know that the keys should have been swinging to that degree, if at all. All right, now he's going over to another vehicle, and he opens it up, and he gets a little surprise. All right, here's a dude, still alive, begging him for water. The weapon here is a problem. All right? He reaches in and grabs it, coming right up. And it is an HK SP89. What the SP89 was essentially a semi-automatic version, kind of a pistol format, if you will, of the MP5K. All right, this takes place in 1980. The SP89 was not on the market in 1980. And one thing you need to be aware of, in 1980, the firearms market in the United States was pretty boring by current standards. Most everything was hunting rifles and hunting guns. Very few military-style weapons were on the market, and when you did see them, guns like the FAL and whatnot, and semi-automatic variants of the G3 and whatnot, or AR-15 with the SP1, they were very much looked down upon. The hunting community looked down upon those tactical-style rifles. It's nothing like it is today, where the tactical side kind of drives the firearm market. Back then, it was completely the opposite. Handguns, you just seen Browning high powers, you just seen 1911s, maybe some of the double action Smith & Wessons, you just seen P38s, you just seen Lugers, but you wouldn't have seen a lot of the cool tactical style stuff that you see today. A lot of that stuff didn't really start showing up on the market till well on later in the 1980s. So that's a little bit of a glitch here that he has an SP89. Okay, Llewellyn grabs the SP89. Now this guy's begging for water.
I ain't got no water.
He ain't got no water. That doesn't make any sense. He's out hunting in the desert. All right, he's traveling long distances. You see from where he shot the antelope, he started tracking the blood trail down to where the cars are at, and he doesn't have a canteen on him. That doesn't really make any sense. So, yeah, he may not want to share the water with the guy. I kind of get that piece. Like, hey, dude, you didn't bring your own water. I'm not going to give you mine. But him to say, I don't have any, and he's out in the middle of the desert like that, doesn't make much sense. Now, he's tracking the ultimate hombre here, the guy who took off with the money.
Backtrack.
All right, there's the vehicle tracks that he's tracking out. Theory is he's going to leave the way he came in. Makes perfect sense.
Stop.
His theory here is
Stop and shade.
he's going to stop and shade. Once again, perfect theory. So he's going to be walking for a while. Now he spots him underneath this tree. All right. He's at a rear oblique angle on him, which is very well laid out. Good idea. He's going to glass him, and to get some eyes on, and he's going to hit his stopwatch here. I take that back. He's going to hit his wristwatch just to see how long before the guy moves. What he's going to do here, takes out his wristwatch, and he's going to watch the time to just see how long it is before the guy moves, if at all. All right? He sees the guy's immobile up there, so he knows if the guy's still alive, at some point he's going to shift around, he's going to move. And notice he's dropped the two weapons. He's got the bolt gun down there, he's got the SP89. Now he decides to take off the binos, he grabs the SP89, and he's going to maneuver up on the guy. Here's a problem with that. It is very easy to lose your stuff in the desert. He's at least a couple hundred meters from the dude. He lays his stuff out there. He could spend hours going to look for that, unless he had something distinctive and unique that he can dial in on, that he knows where his rifle and his binoculars are. Bad call. Should have brought him with him, especially since this guy hadn't moved, so obviously he's probably dead. Now he comes up, finds some money. Can't really blame him for taking the money. I mean, most people in that situation, they'd have taken the cash. Picks up the guy's pistol. It's a nickel-plated 1911 in 45 ACP. Can you tell it's 45 ACP? The magazine right there. Slab side magazine with the viewing holes at unmistakably 45 ACP, not 38 Super, which it also could have been coming out of Mexico, a popular Mexican caliber, but it's 45 ACP. It opens up the cash, which is now his. What I think is kind of interesting is if you notice there as he came up, the dead bad guy had a hole in the bottom of the shoe, bottom of his boot. So he's going to leave now. Go down and find his rifle. And he's going to split. Hey, Larry Vickers here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click here to subscribe to the Vickers Tactical channel and take time out to check out some of our other favorite videos.